Today Baba is talking about the different kinds of bondages. And we hear from Baba that I, the soul, have been in Ravan Rajya for 63 births. And by doing karma under the influence of vices, we have become, we have come into bondage. But these days, the only bondage that people realize is when somebody is, doing something or, just which you don't like. So somebody is forcing you to do something which you don't like. And that is the only kind of bondage people think they are in. And that bondage they want to break free of. So, even little children, if they feel that they don't want to study and somebody is pressurizing them, then they want to run away from home. And I remember there was this one child, and he used to tell his father, if you ask me to study, I will run and go on the street, and I will come under a bus and kill myself. So the father once said, let me open the door and you go and run and kill yourself. And then he didn't do anything. So you see that sometimes, when you don't like something, you think that you don't want it, and whether it's good for you, not good for you, that's again something you don't understand. But that's the only kind of freedom and bondage we understand in this world. But Baba says, you don't understand bondage, because you see, to understand anything, you need an intellect that's functional. And Ravan gives us a very dysfunctional intellect. And because of that, we are not even able to discern how much and what kind of bondage we are in. And you see, we hear that knowledge puts us out of bondage. Baba's power, which we take from yoga, through yoga, is what puts us out of bondage. But because we don't realize how much bondage we are in, so we do not make that kind of effort. Because you see, your interest in how much effort you put into treating yourself of a disease depends on how much realization you have of the disease. Because if one thinks that I don't have any illness, then they don't take out the time and make the effort to treat themselves. And you see, there are, even when it concerns physical illness, some people don't pay attention to it until, it gets very bad, because they don't understand or realize that I'm really ill. And Baba says that similarly, with regard to spiritual illness, which is even more hard to diagnose, because, your intellect, your mind, it doesn't make you recognize it. So Baba gives us the intellect to even discern how much bondage we are in and what is the kind of bondage we are in. And then Baba says that Brahma Baba was somebody who we could see that in this life itself he became absolutely bondage free. So now we'll understand the different kind of bondages and how we saw Brahma Baba as an example of somebody who was bondage free. So first bondage is the bondage that you enter into while you do karma. So you see that, when somebody else is sweeping the floor and then somebody steps in and then the person who is sweeping the floor shouts, then you say, it's okay, it's not a big deal. Why are you shouting so much? You can just sweep it again, or it's okay, even if it's not cleaned properly, it's okay. But the moment you pick up the broom and sweep the floor, and then somebody steps in, then you shout at a higher pitch than the other person. Why? Because you see, when you do something, then you are attached to it. And and you see, when people don't do anything, then there is no attachment, no bondage, no negative emotions that come from the quality of the work or the outcome of the work. But when you do something, then there is immediate attachment. And Brahma Baba was somebody who, through his efforts, became completely, detached from whatever karma he did. So he did everything and then he had no problem with whatever the outcome was. I'll tell you one very simple incident. There was this one mother and daughter and they came fighting to the center. So they were fighting all the way, and then when they entered also they were fighting. And then the mother said that this daughter of mine, she has chapped skin. So, in winter the skin is chapped, and I have brought her 2 lotions and I have given it to her, and I'm asking her to apply it every day while sleeping, but she's not doing it. And all my effort is going to waste. And and she was shouting bitterly at her, and that daughter said, why do you care so much about my skin? I will care for my skin. I like it this way. I don't care about what you think. And she was just, and it was a big fight. And why? Because she brought 2 lotions she wanted to be put on the on the skin. So you see, the moment you do something, you're so attached to it, you want it to work out in a certain way, and you cannot help but get irritated when something is not happening as you planned. Because you put in a little effort, then the whole universe has to respond the way you like it. So that is bondage of karma. And in Hindi we say neki kar darya mein dal. So you do a good act and then you forget it. You don't think about, what will be the result. Of course, you think about what you would hope from it, and that becomes your motivation to do it. But then hope doesn't change into attachment. So, you obviously have good wishes for someone and something. You have hope that whatever you do will meet a good end. But then if it doesn't, it's okay. So accepting drama as it is. So this is the bondage of karma. And Baba says, so are you in bondage or not? Yes. Are you in bondage? Yes. So a lot of attention has to be paid to practicing soul consciousness and remembering Baba, because we don't churn enough. So there is not enough power of knowledge. We don't have yoga enough. So there is no power of Baba's power we can't draw into ourselves. And then you see, sometimes you get a glimpse of this bondage of karma when you feel really miserable because something is not happening the way you wanted it to happen. But you see, a sanskar is not developed one day. In one day, a sanskar is not developed. So, if that's your habit, if you are getting attached to every act you do, then obviously you will one day get so attached to something that you suffer miserably because of it. So, one has to understand the sanskar and make the effort. Effort is the same, purity, knowledge, yoga, but that intensity of effort has to be there so that we can change this sanskar. Then, second bondage is bondage when we come into relationships. And you see, when we come into relationships, then we start taking sorrow, giving sorrow, and even if we don't take sorrow, we don't give sorrow, we take sorrow, and that becomes a kind of bondage. So when you're coming into relationships, then getting influenced by words, by behavior, and absorbing the vibration of the other, this becomes a bondage. And have you felt that after you come into contact with a big group, so let's say you go to a social gathering or something, and there are so many people, and then when you come into contact with them, then do you feel heavy after you come back? So all that is bondage. And then in individual relationships also, there is the bondage of lust, bondage of attachment, bondage of expectations, and then you feel not very happy and peaceful all the time during human interactions. You get affected by how they behave, what they tell you, how they speak to you. And I remember, there was this one sister, and she was living in a center, and she said that I cannot live in the center anymore. So I said, why? What's the problem? So she said, the younger sister in the center, she doesn't talk politely to me. So I said, it's okay, she's just come, she's young and she doesn't know things very well. So she said, but whenever she says something, it just keeps ringing in my ear and I can't forget it. And she back answers, and then sometimes she's rude and I don't like it. So then I said, but you see, you shouldn't be in such bondage. So she said, am I in bondage? She's being rude and you're telling me I am in bondage. So I said, yes, you're in bondage because she's just being herself. She's not being rude or polite. That's how much she knows at this point of time, and she's just new. So you have to give her an opportunity to learn and grow. You are the elder one. But if you don't give her that, and if you come into influence of what she says, then that's definitely bondage. So you see that we come into bondage, and all the expectations, disappointments, hurt, sorrow, whatever we feel, all the negative vibrations that we create and absorb, all this is karmic bondage. So not karmic bondage, but bondage of relationships. And Baba says that if you are in this kind of a bondage, then how can you create a world of harmony? Because we will rule in a world of harmony when we create a world of harmony. But if I am myself in bondage, then how will I create a world of harmony? So ask yourself how much bondage you are in when you come into relationships. Then the third kind, and you see Brahma Baba, he was never offended or hurt or disappointed with anyone. Yes, he was never, never even a streak of any feeling crossed his heart when he was with children, because that's how he became free from bondage. And here, anybody sitting improperly, talking improperly, yes, you will correct them, that's a different thing. But then if you have the compulsiveness to correct them, or if you are not okay if they don't correct themselves, then that's definitely bondage. Because you see, bondage makes you suffer somebody else's karma. Now the law says that the one who does a wrong karma should suffer, but somebody is doing something wrong, speaking something wrong, and you are suffering. So then you are suffering somebody else's karma. So that is what bondage does to you. So just understand how much bondage you are in, because you see, diagnosis of an illness is very important for the treatment of an illness. And then you see, the third bondage is bondage of wealth and facilities. Yes, and does the absence of a facility make you miserable? Does the absence of wealth make you miserable? Because you see, when something is there, you cannot discern how much bondage you are in, but you can understand how much bondage you are in when it is not there. So when something is not there and it affects you, that means you are in bondage of that thing. And are you in bondage of the facilities? Are you in bondage of the pillow and the mattress? Yes, if the mattress is a little softer or a little harder, and the pillow is just little, thicker or thinner or softer or harder, does that affect your sleep? And or are you able to sleep peacefully, whether it's on the floor, whether it's on the bed, whether it's with whatever mattress, whatever pillow? So, I'm not recommending that you do it. So let's say your body, a mattress doesn't support the health of your body. Let's say you have some issue in the back or something and you need a certain kind of mattress, go ahead and take it, no problem. You can afford to buy it. But until it is bought, do you feel disturbed? That's the question. So, it's not about don't use facilities. Baba doesn't say, Baba says, you use your wealth for comfort, for purshat, for seva, no problem. So even comfortable life is okay. But the thing is it making you comfortable or is it making you bonded? Because if it is making you very uncomfortable when it is not there, then it is not making you comfortable. Yes, so if the presence of something is making you comfortable, but the absence of something is not making you uncomfortable, then that is a good use of a facility. And I think that I don't know, these things can't be calculated. There is no machine or something. But I think, when we are in bondage, the amount of discomfort that we suffer because of the absence of something is far greater than the amount of comfort you experience with the presence of something. And even in relationships, if you could calculate how much sorrow you feel when that other person is not behaving according to you, and how much happiness you feel when they are behaving according to you, you will feel that the sorrow is far greater than the happiness. And because there are more moments when they are not behaving according to you. So you see that bondage makes you lose out on your spiritual energy a lot. And just think about, I just talked about the mattress and the pillow, but there are so many facilities, whether there is enough light or less light, and the temperature of the room, and there are so many facilities. And even when we are conducting classes, so you see, if the internet is slow or something, then does that affect you? Or are you able to be in Baba's remembrance and listen to the class? And I have seen sometimes there is some problem at the end, at the other end, and then the person will keep constantly messaging on chat, the voice is not clear, this is not happening, that is not happening. But then with this attitude, how do you even listen to a class? So if the voice is low and you are silent, you will be able to listen to it. But if you're complaining, you cannot even listen to a clear voice. So you must, at every point of time when you're feeling uncomfortable, that's a sign of bondage. And the bondage on wealth and facilities is too much. And I have seen that, when people have money in their pocket, their face is different. And when there is no money in the pocket, the face changes. And I had a friend in college, and if she had forgotten her wallet, her face would tell that. And at that time we didn't have, it was not like we were carrying thousands of rupees or something, just 100 rupees or 50 rupees. If she had it in her wallet, it would be different. And if she didn't, I could tell it from her face. And I used to ask her, did you forget your wallet? And she would say, why? How do you know? So I said, you are speaking it from your face. Don't worry, I'll pay today. So you see that this is how much wealth and facilities affect us. So Baba says, and you see, Brahma Baba, he never took the support of even a backrest at the age of 92. Yes, and no facilities affected Brahma Baba. So Brahma Baba could, wear his thin, dhoti kurta even in the peak of winter. And Brahma Baba did not have any dependence on any wealth and facilities. So that is how Brahma Baba set an example of a life free from bondage. And how did he become like that? Through the same method that Baba is teaching us. And then there is bondage of karma. So, when karmic accounts come up, so the biggest karmic account is when there is illness in the body. So, of course, there will be pain, but then do you lose your happiness because of that pain, or do you manage that pain with yoga power? And you see, when Dadi Janki ji used to have these papers of physical illness, then she would just lie down in Baba's remembrance, and she would keep lying down and remembering Baba. And when somebody asked her, what are you doing, Dadi? She would say, I am in remembrance of Baba, waiting for the illness to pass. So, waiting for the pain to pass. So she was not feeling the pain. Of course, there's settlement, so you have to wait for it to pass. But then she was not feeling the pain. She was in remembrance of Baba. So Baba says, yes, karmic settlements will come. You will have to settle them also, but don't get in bondage of them. Don't let that affect your stage. Be bodiless, practice bodilessness, be in remembrance of Baba and allow it to pass. And then there is the bondage of samskaras, your nature and samskaras. And do you use this language sometimes? I didn't want to speak this, I didn't want to do this, but still, the situation forced me, or it was such a scene that I couldn't stop myself. So that is the bondage. So, you do some karma and then you regret it later. And because you can't help your nature and samskar, so that is bondage. And Baba says that you have to have enough yoga with Baba so that there is nothing that is mine that is left. There is nothing like my sanskar. It is Baba's sanskar is my sanskar. Baba's nature is my nature. I never say that, I have this nature that I get irritated when somebody lies to me, or I get irritated when somebody doesn't accept his mistake. So these kinds of, this bondage of my nature, my sanskar, this has to go away. Because otherwise, in the final moments, this thing will deceive us. And this my nature, my sanskar will be active. And then of course, Maya will make us do things which we will regret in the final moments. So this bondage has to change by having this deep experience that I am a soul, I am Baba's child, and there is nothing like my nature. That is Ravan's nature, which I adopted in 63 births. My nature is what is Baba's nature. So Baba is the ocean of peace, ocean of love. Baba never says that I get irritated in this situation or I get angry in this situation. So why should I be in bondage? So this is something. And then the final and the most interesting thing Baba says today is the bondage of being impressed and suppressed. And usually, the other things we listen to in the Murli, but this is new. So the bondage of being impressed. Now, do you have the sanskar of being impressed? And when you become impressed, then you forget Shrimat. And then the one under whose influence you've come, because they impressed you, whatever they say appears right to you. And you start following their mat. Their mat becomes Shrimat for you. Yes, and I have seen, seemingly very intelligent people. They have this sanskar of being impressed, and then sometimes they do something which is very against their personality, and then you figure out that now they are under the influence of this one person, and then they have been impressed by that one, and now whatever they are saying, this person is accepting without any discernment. And that is being impressed. And if you have this sanskar, then being impressed becomes like a cloud on your intellect, on your buddhi, and then your buddhi cannot discern clearly. No clarity in the buddhi about what is right, what is wrong, because you've been impressed. And I have also observed that some people become very impressed with themselves also. So if you become impressed with yourself also, it does the same thing. You don't remember Baba's Shrimat, then you only follow your own dictates. And you will always say, I think this is right, I think this is, but why is what you think different from what Baba thinks? So you are impressed with yourself, and these two things become a bondage. And then there is the bondage of being suppressed. So, do you feel that, have you used this language, this person is pressurizing me? This person is pressurizing me, maybe emotionally, maybe in any other way. So do you feel the pressure when somebody is pressurizing you? So if somebody is pressurizing you and you feel the pressure, that's the sanskar of being suppressed. That's the bondage of being suppressed. And if you have this sanskar of being suppressed, then the other person will figure that out, and they will try to, coerce you in the finest and the nastiest ways into doing whatever they want you to do. And yesterday there was one Mata, she called me and then she said that my husband, ever since I chose to remain celibate, he is not talking to me, he is not having food at home. So I said, okay. So then she said, but so I said, where is the problem? So she said, I'm not feeling good about it. So I said, that is what he wants you to feel. That's exactly how he wants you to feel. So he has managed to suppress you that way. So, many people don't suppress you just by shouting at you or, forcing you in very noticeable ways, but emotional pressure, and they force you into pressurizing you emotionally also. And then if you have that sanskar, then, that sanskar weakens your resolve to follow Srimat. Yes, and then, let's say you get up at early in the morning, and then somebody tells you that when you wake up in the morning, it's good that you meditate, but I get a headache because the sound at 3 a.m. and then you get up and go to the other room, so I just get a headache because I get up at that time. And so what they are doing is their own thing. But then if you start getting affected by it, then you have the sanskar of being suppressed. And that becomes a bondage, and Maya comes through the door of bondage. And then Maya weakens your connection with Baba. Maya weakens your resolve to follow on Srimat. And then slowly, gradually you leave the path of Srimat. You stop doing that thing which was according to Srimat. So Baba says, be very careful of these bondages, and if you have diagnosed that you have these bondages, then pay enough attention to Murli, churning of knowledge, creating a powerful state through yoga, practicing purity, so that you can overcome this bondage and become Jivan Mukt. You need to be Jivan Mukt in Sangam Yug to be Jivan Mukt in Satyug. If you are not free from bondage in Sangam Yug, you cannot make the effort to be bondage free in Satyug. Okay, Om Shanti.